Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. It's a beautiful day, even though there's some overcast. It's okay because it is such a nice breeze outside. Welcome to the Bee Project, where we talk about business and entrepreneurship, and we talk about those things to help get you to your next and the things that make a difference when you are an entrepreneur. And so today we're going to have Kim Hall with us, but before we get into Kim, I want to talk about and recap a little bit about last week. Last week, we had Evita Malkimos on, and Evita talked about sales. Excuse me, I'm sorry. She talked about sales. And boy, did she really talk about sales. It was awesome because really the number one reason that businesses fail is that they don't go out and get customers. That's sales. You got to go get customers. And, you know, salespeople have gotten a bad rap, and that's because there have been some shysters out here. But the majority of the salespeople are not that way. The majority of the salespeople really do care about the product, and they do care about the customer. And so Evita talked about a lot of things. If you missed it last week, you want to make sure you catch that recording. She will talk about things that will help drive sales to your business and will help drive your income. Now, a lot of people believe that they don't need to sell. Well, let me prove it to you. Let's say you're an administrator of a hospital, and let's say there are 4 of them in your area. People determine if they want to go to your hospital and get medical care that will potentially save or not save their lives is based upon what they've heard, which is part of sales and service. You going to their hospital is sales. You've come there. You're going to pay them for what they're doing. They offer a service. And how they treat you while you're there is the service. Now, Kim is going to talk about that service in a little bit. And then here we go. Let's say we have a Chevrolet. Well, you can buy that same car anywhere. You can order it, and it will be delivered to your door. You never have to deal with a salesperson. Why do we choose salespeople? Because they're usually the expert in their field. We usually choose a particular salesperson because they have represented themselves as the expert about that particular thing that you need to purchase. So sales is important, be it a service that you're selling or a product, or you're doing something online, or you want to get people to join your group so that you will have a platform to speak to them on, TED Talks, podcasts, whatever it is. It's all sales. So sales is the number one thing you need to be able to conquer in order to have any business. Service is the number 2 reason why businesses fail. Number 2. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about Kim, and then we're going to get into our conversation on this evening. Kim is your service expert for this evening. Now, Kim may not think that she is a service expert, but of course Kim is a service expert. And the reason Kim may think that she's not a service expert because she doesn't necessarily feel that she's doing anything super special, because that's just what she does for people. Everything she does, she thinks is what everyone should do, and it's super special, but she doesn't realize that everybody doesn't do that. So that's why Kim is this expert. And I'm going to read to you Kim's bio. She really has a true heart for people. Kim, after hearing God's word from an early age, Kim grew up knowing the importance of serving others. From serving as a mentor in junior achievement, to being a Sunday school teacher, all the way to youth group leader at her church, to being a crime watch officer in her neighborhood, and volunteer with the Honor Flight Chicago. Kim finds true joy in service to others and applies all those lessons learned to being a direct sales professional. Now, Kim celebrates life as a daughter of the King, a wife, and a mom of 3, plus three in-loves. And she's a gram of 6. I know how important being a gram is. That is just the bomb. It's just the bomb.
It
Now, as
is.
a visionary leader, yes, Kim has learned to lead through serving and felt blessed with the rewards of helping clients find solutions to their needs and teammates develop as leaders. Now, inspired by the teachings of her dynamic mentors and the writings of John Maxwell and many more, she continues to learn and grow, leading by example. Kim has a signature, and we all should have one, and Kim's signature is serving you. Kim Hall, the Hall's Enterprises, where she is a client specialist, a presentation speaker, and a mentor helping busy professionals and caregivers, families who are time-stressed, people like me, save time and steps on their essential shopping needs by asking, how might I serve you? So I want you guys to join me. Welcome Kim Hall, who's going to be talking to you about service. So Kim, tell me, help us, Kim. Help us become better service people. What do we need to do? Help us.
Well, hi, Angela, and thank you so very much for having me today and the kind words that you spoke of me. I do look at it as something that people should do. I love when I get good customer service. I know everyone else that's on this call does too. And we always can spot somebody who gives us some, not just good customer service, but maybe exceptional or excellent customer service. And I think that's our final goal, to get to that point. But with customer service, I look at it in a lot of different ways, but I did find, since you said number 2 reason for companies to fail, I found a few things from Zendesk that I thought might be important also for people who are wanting to improve their customer service. And so these are motivating factors.
Okay.
And I'm not, I didn't research and compare, but so it's just from one site, but they on Zendesk said that 81% will tell their friends and family about it if you do a good job, if you give them great customer service. Oftentimes you'll hear just the complaints. So have you ever had great customer service at a restaurant and called the manager over so you could tell him what a great job that server did?
I have.
And do you see the trepidation that manager comes toward you with? Because they're expecting they're expecting a complaint.
Yes, they are.
So for us on that service end, number one, it's great when people do reach out and tell you that. And that's what it says on here that people will do if you give great customer service, 81% of them. It also says that 45% will broadcast their experience on social media. Now, they'll do that if you give bad customer service as well, and maybe even a little more readily. I think you and I talked about it.
Yes. I see more bad complaints than I ever see people singing praises of someone.
A lot of people, it comes more naturally to complain because they do expect good service. Is what I, when I ask people, why do you complain? Well, I expect it, good service, and I'm not getting it. But the one that kind of impressed me was that 52% will continue to do business with you and your company. And the reason they will do that is because they've trusted you. They trust you. You've built that relationship with them, and they are able to trust you to do a good job for them.
Okay. Tell me that number again, 52%?
It says 52% will continue to do business with your company.
Even if they have a bad complaint?
This is it. They say when support management invests in great customer service was the title in the numbers.
Okay.
And support staff, they said earlier in the report, and it's what my company believes, that they don't just have a customer service department. They encourage all of the employees, and we are contractors. So they encourage all of us to shine in that area. And
Kim, I'll tell you, I think that's important because, in order to be good in customer service, service has got to be in you. It's almost like going to a doctor with bad bedside manner. If you go to a doctor with bad bedside manner, really what you're saying is that they had bad service and you didn't get the warm and fuzzy. You didn't walk away feeling like you got what you went for. And, you know, I work for a company, I won't call the company's name, but I work for a company that service is a huge deal for us, huge deal. And in my job, I work with contracted people that represent our company. And even when I'm talking to employees or the contractors, it is extremely important that the service be in me. Now, sure, there are times I don't feel like being excellent in service. Sometimes there are things that I would love to be able to say that are contrary to good service. But I know that one, it's an emotion that would be displayed at that time, and it would be negative, and it would make me look bad. And it could sever one or more relationships. So maybe you can hit on that too, you know, the consequences of how it feels like. You were talking, you guys are a contractor and you represent this product. What are the consequences if you don't have good customer service? Does it cost you money?
It costs a lot. And when I looked at this, I mean, you make a great point with the doctor in the bedside manner, because we do have an expectation when we go in there, and one of them is good communication. The other one is we always have a kindness bar in our brains. We expect people to be kind. We expect them to be respectful. And we expect to come out from whatever interaction we have feeling at least neutral, but we love feeling better. And when we feel negative, then that's...
Oh boy.
Right. So one of the things I thought about, and I have had those same moments where you would like to say something, and thankfully self-control comes in at that point. But if you think long-term, and one of my mentors mentioned this, if you think long-term, think of clients or customers for life. Because if you consider how long did it take you to make that contact, keep making those contacts, finally getting an audience, building that audience and that relationship to maybe getting them as a client, how long did that take? Once you've gotten over that hurdle, it's easier, much easier to keep that client and customer or customers satisfied, happy by doing a lot of, there's quite a few different steps that you can do. But when you look at how long it takes to get that client, doesn't it make sense? Yeah. And isn't it worth it to keep them?
You know, it's funny you would say that. Today, I was checking my personal phone, because I usually have my business phone with me all the time. But my personal phone, I noticed I had missed a call. And when I saw the name, I was like, oh, wow, I haven't talked to this person in a few years. They moved to another state. I was their insurance agent for years. And they had moved to another state, relocated after he retired. He called me. He said, hey, my daughter just graduated college. She's buying her first car. And she's still in Indiana. And we want her to have insurance with you because you insured us for years. I said, oh, man, I'm flattered, but I don't sell insurance anymore. I said, but I can refer you to someone. And he said, great. Give us the information. He said, in fact, let me give you my daughter's number. Call and give it to her. The great thing about that is, here it is. I've not sold insurance for almost 3 years. He's been in this other state for about 4.5 years now. He calls me on my cell phone. That was the first thing. He still had my number. And then he remembered that I was his agent. We had a great relationship. I always served them well. They had everything insured with me, their auto, their home, their life, everything. And then he wanted to give me another generation of business. And that all was because of the service that I had given them after the sales process, because he was my customer for about 10 years.
And with that great service, you built trust. And he would never have called you for his daughter if he
Yeah.
did not have that trust in you. So that was
Mm-hmm.
some excellent service. You should be given this.
No. That's all you, Kim.
All right, back on that podium. Huh? So,
That's right.
well, a couple of things you mentioned, like you said, you gave good customer service, and I'm sure you did this, and a lot of people do. But I thought I'd share a couple of points that have been stressed for me and that I've implemented that have been very, very helpful. But the
Okay.
first one is to develop a system. When you have a client, do you have an intake form where you can
Mm.
jot notes about the client, not just their name, their address, their phone number, what business they're doing with you, but what's their birth dates, anniversary dates? Do they have grandkids? How many? You know that's special, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And in making those kinds of notations in that client form, you can start making notes where you can give special attention to things that are important to them, not what's
Mm-hmm.
important to
Mm-hmm.
you, but what's important to them. So in knowing your
Mm.
client, in knowing your client, you must have built that good relationship with him. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Initially, what do they say? Family, recreation, occupation,
And dream.
or organizations and goals
Mm-hmm.
and things like that, or
Mm-hmm.
dreams. And if you make mental notes of that, there may be an opportunity later on to help them in some way in one of those things.
That is a
That
big deal.
that builds trust. That builds that relationship. That endears you to them. But
Mm-hmm.
it's more than just endearing yourself to them. It helps you develop a great love for them, a great respect, a
Mm-hmm.
great appreciation for maybe the skydiving things that they do, or
Right.
whatever. It helps you look at them as the individual that they are, how unique they are, and really appreciate them. And that will shine through from the moment you say hello to them, whether they see your face or not, because you're excited to hear from them. I know you were shocked probably today, right? But
I
kind of
was. I
excited.
really was.
But
Yes.
it's a great feeling. So share that with them as well. And
Mm-hmm.
listen, I've learned the skill of listening well, listening
Mm.
to subjects that they may share that are a little off the topic of whatever they're in. And those are possible hot topics for them that maybe they want to talk a little bit more when you have time. A lot of people won't take your time
Okay.
up, but it might give you some way to build a bridge. Maybe you hear something that they need and you know somebody else that has whatever that is that they need, and you can make a
Mm-hmm.
referral. So there's
Okay.
lots of different things that you can do, and they told me to take good notes, and I think that goes back to knowing your client and developing that system to,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whenever you speak with them, write two notes. Write a note specifically on what they're looking for and what they called you for, and then the second note, something special that was talked about during that conversation, and put the date on it so that you can possibly, it might be appropriate to refer back to that at some time. And then they know
Okay.
also that you've listened.
Okay. That's good. That's good info.
So from there, where do you go? What steps do you take? You've got your client form, you get a call from them. What do you do? And I think you said you
I should.
saw the
Okay.
call and you responded right away, right?
Mm-hmm. I did.
Mm-hmm. We're told to respond quickly, but
Mm-hmm.
what if they're calling with a concern or a complaint? The, the
That's not
rule of
good.
that, no, it's not, but the rule of that one is to respond even faster. Our our instinct is to, oh my, I don't know if I can handle this today, but,
So
or
are
like
you
that.
telling me, Kim, that if someone calls to complain and tell me how I've done something that was less than satisfactory to them, I should respond even faster?
Yes. And here's why.
Wow. That's
Because
tough
most
skin, man.
people, yeah, I know it takes a lot of nerve, but
Yeah.
but the reason is it's a respect issue. If someone is wanting to complain or voice a concern, and some people will do that readily and they do it often, and you have to sometimes draw a line and fire a customer. You can do that.
You
But
can.
if it's a complaint and you answer cautiously but quickly, it lets them know that you really do want to take care of this. That's how you set that conversation. You set the pace of that conversation. Okay, I heard your message. This happened. Let's talk about this and see if we can make this right. But you've called back right away. You haven't put it off a day or two and let them stew about
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's
So
great.
can,
Okay,
can I ask a question? I'm sorry.
sure. No, that's fine. I don't know if I'll
You
have
know,
the answer.
I like having conversation about this. So,
Mhm.
so I heard you say a couple of things. The first thing I heard you say a few moments ago was, really, you've got to learn to speak that customer's love language.
Yes.
You've got to find out what moves them. It's not always about what moves you and if it makes sense to you. Like you mentioned the skydiving. You may not be able to relate to skydiving, but that's what Mr. Smith likes. And if that's what Mr. Smith likes, I need to make it important to me because Mr. Smith is important to me.
Correct.
And then I hear you now saying we've got to be accountable and own the mistake.
Yes.
You know, that's a mouthful. Those two things speak volumes. They really, really do. Because in any relationship that you're building, be it a personal relationship, be it a professional relationship, those two principles are the same. So thank you for sharing that and pointing that out. Thank you for that.
They are. And if you put yourself in that person's place and you have a legitimate complaint about something, um, you're just looking for an answer. So sometimes it's hard because we personalize that they're talking about us, that we dropped a ball or we made a mistake. And they are, but flip it around. And that's a hard thing to do. But once you get practiced on that a little bit, it becomes easier and easier. And the results that I have seen with this, and again, this goes back to my mentor team that talks me off the wall on a lot of things.
Okay.
But they definitely, because it's in the person's best interest. And then you fix that problem if you can. For
Okay.
instance, companies will have either buyback or um, they'll have a customer service. If you have anything wrong with the product, they'll take it back. I know our company does as well. And they will, our company will take something back for 180 days and they'll do 100% return and refund or replacement.
That's excellent.
And that's fixing a problem. So other people, though, fix problems differently. So for instance, maybe with an insurance, they may see that their premium went up, and you could fix that problem through different ways with maybe, looking at what their policy is, reevaluating it for them. But you're going the extra mile for them.
That's correct.
So
That is correct.
that's an indication to them that you're at least willing to fix the problem, even if you cannot fix the problem.
You know, it's funny. I have all these examples. I just had an experience on Saturday. I went to a local restaurant to pick up a fast food order. I called the order in. They told me it would be 15 minutes and gave me a ticket number. I said, okay, great. I got there in about 17 minutes. So what do you think I expected? Think I expected my food to be ready? I think that's reasonable. So I go to pick up my food, and they give me a new ticket. I said, wait, I called my order in. And the lady says to me, well, we've just been busy. It's going to take another 15 minutes before your food is cooked. I said, no, that's not acceptable. Now, here's the sad thing about this, Kim. This is what burns me up. Since this is the only place in the area that offers what they have, we're at their mercy. So they did give me my food right away. They prepared it immediately. But I want to so badly say I'm never coming here again, but they're the only provider of that product in the area. So now I've decided I'm probably going to boycott them altogether. But so many of us are at the mercy of a place because they're the only ones that offer that product. Mm-hmm. What are we supposed to do?
Well, from her standpoint, she may have been being honest, but the presentation was more brushing it off and putting the responsibility somewhere else. If she had come to you, let me ask you this question. If she had come to you and said, I am really sorry about this. We have been very, very busy. We normally like to try to get it within that window of time. Things have happened today, and I totally apologize. We will get this fixed right away for you. And then they have a choice of just leaving it there, or maybe offering you a coupon, or and maybe they don't even offer the coupon then, but when they bring it to you, say, because you did decide to wait, then say, because of this error, we want you to have this, or giving you a free dessert, or giving you something to kind of qualify for the time that you lost.
Right. I agree.
Would that have been a better solution?
You know, here's the thing. It would have been, to answer your question, yes, it would have been an excellent solution. And how we respond or react is what can make or break any business, because I've had a couple of instances within the last few weeks where the response was horrible. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand, especially with the COVID thing going on, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of stress being added and weight being added to different occupations. I get that. However, I think it's important to service providers to know this. You don't know the weight that's being added to the customer either. You don't know what they're experiencing once they get in their car. You don't know what they have to deal with on the regular. Bottom line is, when we're in business, good circumstances, bad circumstances. We are in business, and we have to be in it without excuse. We have to fix what we mess up. We have to own it. So you know what, Mr. Smith, I'm sorry. We dropped the ball. Please forgive me. How can we make it right? In 2 instances that I had in the last couple of weeks, none of that was offered. None of that was the conversation. It was, well, you know, you could have done this. You could have told us, well, okay. I don't work for the company. I'm trying to give you money for the service that you promised me. I'm not getting that in return. I just think it's so important to stress to business owners, you cannot hide behind the excuse of I'm having a bad day, or, you know, whatever is going on. That may be, but you need to own that. And you need to approach that with a solution in mind, not trying to make it seem like you can't control what's happening. People want accountability. Just be honest.
Correct. And that starts from the top down. And it is an important thing to train if you do have employees or, you know, like distributors for the company to do training on that. Because the person that is frontline is usually, not always, the least paid, the lowest pay. And if they don't have the example to follow, or they haven't been properly trained, they can take on attitudes that are not, you know, conducive to good customer service. So that needs to be instilled in a good way,
Yes.
from the top down.
Yes, I agree.
And so, you know, like you said, fix those mistakes or go that extra mile for the customers, for the clients. And then ask for their feedback. And if they asked you for your feedback from that experience, it might not be good. But that gives them another opportunity to fix that mistake and go that extra mile, even if it's a bad review, because
Right.
you're able to come in and take a second look at a situation that happened, and to be able to help out and make it right,
Mhm.
and maybe retain that client, that customer.
Mhm. Mhm. You know, it's
So,
funny. I was having a conversation with someone recently about retention.
mhm,
Retention is a huge deal because if you don't retain what you have, for every
mhm,
one customer you lose, you've got to gain two more just
right.
so you can progress. And as hard as it is to get one, you don't want to lose the one you've had, especially if they've been a long time customer, because you don't know what they will say, and it can really hurt you because that negative words always spread much faster than any compliment.
Mhm,
Any compliment. If I told someone else the restaurant I went to, I guarantee you the first reaction would be, you know, let me tell you, when I went there, let me tell you what happened. It would just be a long list of complaints.
mhm.
And those are the type of things that ruin a business. So yes, you're spot on with these points, Kim. Thank you for sharing all of these things with us. So, hey, I see that Antonio has joined us. Hey, Antonio.
Hi, Antonio.
Hey, Angela. Hey, Kim. Sorry I was late. I had my time messed up actually
Oh,
today for some reason.
Okay,
that,
okay. Well, I'm glad you're here. We've been talking about service, customer service, and how important it is to be able to retain what you have, and how important it is to be able to speak the customer's love language, and to also be accountable for your mess ups. If
Absolutely.
you mess up, just say I messed up. And how can I make it right? So that's what we've discussed thus far. So Kim, tell me, what's your next, what else do you suggest? What can we do so we can get better?
well, I think someone once asked me, when I meet someone, they notice that I kind of make a connection quickly. And what I have always been trained and taught through my mentorships and other relationships is really have your heart right and really be excited to see that person. So when you see them, instead of saying, oh, hi, how are you? You know, as a straight
Mm-hmm.
pan face, it's like, oh, I'm excited to see you. Hi, how are
Mm-hmm.
you? So
Mm-hmm.
it starts in the heart. And
Mm-hmm.
approaching any relationship like that will help that to grow. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, like you and I mentioned too about the positiveness, you know, having a
Mm-hmm.
positive reaction, or having a positive relationship instead of bringing in that negative. It's so easy to bring the negative in, but just to
Mm-hmm.
focus on the positiveness. Thoughtfulness,
Mm-hmm.
I think, comes in too. And Barbara, Antonio, I believe you know Barbara as well. Barbara did the
Mm-hmm.
presentation with Angela. One of the things she did in a recent training with us was had us do kindness calls. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing that I've done for years is I don't just call my clients for sales. I don't call them, you know, with the newest, brightest products that we have. I actually have internalized caring for them so that if it's maybe not their birthday month, but maybe it's just, you know, a month I've heard they've had a struggle, or even with the, you know, what just happened with us with the shutdowns. I made calls to check on everyone to see if they were okay, if they were healthy, if they were safe. And it's those little touches that will really let people know that they're important. It's encouraging for them. And that has a way of coming back for you as well.
It's good.
And
That is good. And Kim, it's funny that you say that. And I know it seems like I got a comment for everything today, but service is a big deal to me.
It is to me too.
But when I think about service, I think of service as, I think of businesses as people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So when I think of an individual, let's say it's a husband and wife situation. So here it is, your husband's courting you, doing all these wonderful things. He proposes, and you're like, yes, I do. You get married, and all of that goes out the window. This dare comes out. And now the TV show you used to watch together all the time when you guys were dating, now you realize he doesn't even like the show. He was pretending.
Leave us alone,
Well,
Angela.
Antonio, you don't do that. So what would happen, it would set the stage for a bad relationship because the service isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And now the spouse is like, well, I don't need to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And that can cost a lot financially, emotionally, spiritually, and all of that can have a physical cost involved. So I just, you know, I try to make it make sense to people, because when you think of businesses like individuals, you have to work at keeping this customer just like you did at getting this customer. And that means doing little kindness calls just because I love you. I bought you flowers just because I love you. I called you today because I was thinking about you, and I just wanted to say, hey, see how you and the family were. So simple things.
Something to that.
Mm-hmm.
Kim, I know this is, and sorry my video's not on. We got a lot of moving parts here right now.
That's okay.
Kim, I know this is your show. It's something that I strive since I've been in business.
Mm-hmm.
In business, and I always feel like I've arrived in a relationship with a customer when this happens. The challenge is it's not sustainable. So maybe you can help me. And I always say that I've arrived with a customer relationship once I have keys to their establishment. As an IT person, a lot of times we have to do work before hours, after hours, or whatever the case may be. And the objective for me is always to get keys. I don't ask for them. I never ask for the keys. But the objective is to get keys to their establishment or the code, alarm, or something. Because at that point, I feel like they trust me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I built up that trust factor. I had a customer today who gave me the password to the email address. And I said, I don't want your password to your email address. Like, no, I need you to have my password email address so you can stop calling me, asking me to give you the code. No, I don't want it. But my point is that comes through relationship building and trust.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that it's not sustainable as I build. Well, I shouldn't say I found it's not. How can I make this sustainable throughout the entire organization?
Well, may I ask a couple of questions?
No, I'm kidding.
Okay. Then I can't tell you anything. When you build that trust,
Yeah.
do you recognize what it is that has built that trust, or are you just assuming it's communication?
I like to, that's a very great question. And it's go back to a lot of things that you both talked about. It's touches. Often we will contact a customer to say, just to say, during the pandemic, I called every customer that I could call. And I said, listen, I don't want anything from you. What can I do to be of value to you? Like, are you okay during this pandemic? Do you need anything? Is there any technology that you need to implement? You know, I'm not asking you to pay me for anything. Just how can we make this happen? Make sure your transition is smooth and things like that. So I try to treat everybody's business as if it's my own business, which gets me in a lot of trouble because I don't end up charging sometimes. Oh, sorry, that's a client calling. 1 second. Sorry about that. So if I'm answering your question correctly in a concise manner, it's just building the relationship as if treating a person like I want to be treated.
Okay. And then where do you feel like it ends? Like you have that trust and then it ends. What does that look like?
I'm not sure I understand that particular when you say how it ends.
You said you felt like getting the keys was it, but then it's not lasting.
Oh, no,
So,
I apologize.
oh, okay.
What I'm
I missed it.
referring to is something that me and Angela talks about a lot is scalability. You know, it's one thing to build a brand around myself, but in order to be successful business, you have to, you have to expand and grow as you get more employees and more staff. People always used to say to me, well, what's the difference between buying a service from you and going to ABC company? And for years, my answer always was this: the difference is me. The difference is the difference is me. I'm the difference. And now I've had to change that because I can't, if I send another technician, another solutions architect or someone else call them, they don't want to talk to that person. They want to talk to me. So,
Oh, yeah.
but I can't be everywhere. So I started changing that language to the difference is our company. But again, that's my value system. So when I say sustainability, I thank God I've had in 15, 20 years, I had very few relationships, business relationships, they have gone south. I mean,
That's good.
maybe 2 in ever. So the point of saying that is, but when I say scalability is, how did I get that throughout the whole organization? Because everybody may not have the Angela personality or the great smile that you got. How do you do that, throughout your whole organization to have the same level to be scalable?
That's a great question. And if I hadn't kind of encountered that a little bit through somebody else that I know has encountered that, I don't know that I'd have an answer for you. But here's what she did.
Okay.
She was it. She was the go-to person, the person that they trusted with those codes.
Right.
She cleaned, so she was it. And when she started expanding her company, there were questions about reliability or trust or whatever, because the owner that she had been dealing with didn't know the other person.
Correct.
So what she did was she had a conversation first with the owner and said, I appreciate, my motto was always what makes us different is it's me. I am expanding because I can't be everywhere. There's only so many hours in a day. However, I wanted to communicate with you the importance of when I hire someone that I vet them well, that I look at everything to make sure it's not just a good match for me as somebody who can expand my hours in the day, but that would be trustworthy for you, that would be reliable, that would do a good job for you. And when I bring them in, I'm going to go right with them first. And that's what she did. She would bring them in for each job that she expanded and brought somebody new in. She would actually do the job with them the first 2 times and show them what the expectations were. And then go back and she told the person that this is how I'm going to bring somebody in. And then after we do that a couple of times, I would like to have a conversation with you as to if you noticed any difference between what she did and what I did. And then if you don't, then I'm going to let her go. And I want to again communicate with you. And I want to, after she's done it a few times on her own, I would love to have that conversation with you just to make sure you're getting the same quality, the same care that I have given to you.
That's good. Thank you.
So is that something you can do?
Absolutely. And I think that really is kind of what I've done.
Okay, that's good.
It's what I've done in the past. So I guess I'm on the right track.
It sounds like it.
Okay.
And I'll add this as well. Oftentimes, and like Antonio, in your case, where you're doing a service where people may be servicing often, and they're going, you've built these relationships with the business owner, and they like you. When people call, you may say, you know what, that's a great question, and we have a person that's an expert in that area. I'm going to connect you with them. They are the person that really gets in the weeds with this. So that may be a good segue so that the person can say, oh, they're viewed as an expert. And because everything is really all in, it's your perspective. It's how you paint the picture. So if you pass them off as being the expert, even though they may have just started last week, they see that person as the expert and they trust it now.
Absolutely.
So you're giving a testament for them, testimony for them, which elevates them past just an employee of yours who is filling the hours that you don't have.
I like what you said, Kim, in terms of having a conversation. That may be a component that I need to implement consistently. I've done it from time to time, but consistently asking the customer for their feedback and letting them know, hey, you have power here. If this person does not work out, let me know so I can replace them, or give you put someone else in that position. I like that level of perceived power given to the customer.
And one of the things we talked about at the very beginning was developing a system where you have a client file. And in that, you could add a form to that client file when you're going to be sending somebody else in there, so that you can make some notes on the conversation that you have, the concerns that they may have. Maybe they have a concern about security. And that way, then you can have a talk with your employee or contractor, however you're dealing with that, and make sure that they understand this is important.
Right.
Because then the communication is totally open.
That's good. It's very good.
And I don't deal with employees, so I just had that example from somebody else. I'm thankful I did.
Yeah, employees they're a different beast. That's a different area. And because when you're dealing with people who are dealing with people, everyone has a different personality. It's just like having children. Every child is different, and you have to be able to deliver to them differently so that they can grasp it. And then you trust that they will take what you're delivering and they're kind to their friends when they're away from you. That kind of concept. So yes, employees are something different. Yes.
Angela, can I ask a question? I just
Sure.
As soon as I saw Kim's face, I just felt like I need to ask this question.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
This is a real scenario, and it's involved around customer service, and it's something I have struggled with today, and maybe both of you guys can help me with.
Okay.
So here's a scenario. I got a quote from a contractor to do some work in my home, and I've used the contractor previously once before. They are very good at what they do, but they do lack a few things in terms of customer service. Okay. Now, with that being said, I got a quote, and the quote was kind of high. It was a little from my budget. Let me say that for my budget, the quote was kind of high. I didn't feel comfortable with the pricing, so I actually went out. Actually, I take that back. I asked the contractor to give me another quote, removing some of the work from the quote, some things that I just can't do myself, and I need him. He has to do, and therefore he gave me the quote. But it took a while to get the quote to me. I had to reach out to them and say, "Hey, where's this quote? What's going on?" A couple times. I finally got the quote. It still was a little high, so I called another contractor to come in, gave me a quote today. I called yesterday. They came today, gave me a quote. The price was about $300 less than what the original contractor. Now here's the scenario. I'm one of the individuals who tend to like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I do know the person They are in my
Okay.
space a little bit. I've been struggling all day about how do I approach the person to say, hey, I'm not going with your bid. Like, or should I have given a chance to go back to say, hey, here's the competitive quote. Do you want to match it? The challenge I'm having, where I'm asking you guys to help me at, is I felt like the second contract that came in, Johnny on the spot. I've seen it work before. You know, I can get it done right away. Here we go. The first contractor, there was a long delay in getting the contract. The follow-through was just not there. I'm not very confident that they, even once if I was given the business at the price point, I'm not very comfortable that they're going to deliver right away.
Okay. So what's your question?
Because
I want to make sure I've understood the concern. What's your question?
My question is, in our community, Angela, we tend to be harder on our own people than we are on other ethnic groups. This is being very transparent about it. So the first contract is in our community. So my question is, do I go based upon, do I call them back and have a conversation? Hey, here's why I'm not going through, or hey, here, give them a chance to rebid the quote, or just move on and keep it moving?
You pose a very good question, Antonio.
I know it.
And a very sensitive, but something that happens often in, as you stated, our community. So I can't get in the weeds about some things, but what I will tell you is this: remove the ethnicity.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to really bring it up at first, but yeah, but go ahead.
But that's a real deal in our community. That's a real issue. So remove that and look at them on paper. You don't just say you don't know either one of them. Right. And you look at them on paper and you look at their response time and you look at a portfolio of their work. Mm-hmm. Who would you choose? Now, keep in mind, I am not a person, I don't shop by price. Because
let me be very clear.
Price is not always the best thing.
Let me be very clear about that. Neither do I.
Okay. Because I cannot understand why in the world I spent $7 at Starbucks the other day. I can't understand it. I really don't know. It was good, but it wasn't that good. I could have gone to Dunkin' Donuts and got it for $4.50. But it was convenient. It's around the corner from my house. Mm-hmm. And when I rolled by, first time ever, there was nobody in line.
It felt like it was calling your name.
Well,
I was like, hey, this is my moment.
It was your time. If that was your time, it was your time.
That's right. So a lot of those things are trade-offs for cost. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing I would tell you to do. Now, in an industry like contracting, and especially now, it seems to be that they're extremely busy. Now, you did go back and you asked him to remove some things. Now, what I may do, because I'm a business owner, and mm-hmm. I believe in paying it forward and doing it to others as I would have them do it to me, I might go back and say, hey, I'm going to give you this opportunity. Here's this other proposal. Do you want to have the opportunity to counter-propose, or are you saying that's your final price? I might give them another shot. However, the biggest thing to me is if he's very busy, he didn't have time to get the quote to you because they are overwhelmed, mm-hmm. You're absolutely 100% correct when it's time to do the job, because contractors, not all, but some have a tendency to start a job, leave your stuff undone, and then go to job number 2. Mm-hmm. And now you're left holding like, well, wait a minute. What about this hole in my wall? You know? So you've got to weigh that out about what's important to you. Is it important that you get the job done right away? And will that contractor put it in writing? the estimated time frame, and what's the latest he'll get this job done by, and is he a person of integrity? Will he do what he says he will do? If not, then maybe you need a third person so you can compare that to person number 2.
Mhm. And if you've had concerns with the one, I think it's okay to have that kind of conversation with them up front so that you don't get frustrated with them again. Because if they make a commitment and then they don't keep that commitment, you know what type of person or business owner they are. If you don't communicate that and you're just going on what happened the last time that maybe you didn't communicate, it sounded like with them on that, that's kind of on you then, because open communication is what gets things resolved. And it's not always pretty. It depends on how it's done. But I think as far as the consumer, because you're the consumer in this, you have the perfect right to do that. And his response will tell you volumes.
And remember, people do what's inspected, not what's expected.
Correct.
So if he knows that he's got to be held accountable and you're going to be inspecting that accountability, if he's willing to rise to that occasion, then okay. But if he says it's too much, then, it is what it is. So, yeah, those kind of situations, it really becomes okay, what's important to me? Is it more important that I get this done in a timely fashion, or that it's excellent, or is it the price? Or is it the price, that it's good, and I'm okay if he gets it done within 3 weeks? You got to see which one carries the most weight for you.
And if it's someone might I also add, if you have that conversation with your expectations and with what you've seen before, you can do that in a way that will let him know that you're trying to help him improve his customer service. That, your heart is for him to be successful and you'd love to support him in that, but you have some important things like the quality and the time that you need his word on.
And then lastly, I'm going to say this. There's a book out. I read it years ago, probably 15 years ago, called The E-Myth.
Ah, yes.
A lot of people believe that because you're a good cook, you should own a restaurant. Not necessarily so. You may be a really good cook, period. Doesn't mean you're a business owner. Now, you could grow and learn to become a business owner, but until you get there, you're good at cooking. Do that well. And I said that to say this about your contractor. He may be really good at building or fixing. He may not be good at managing a business, which could be your time delay. But he can get the job done.
Yeah, I get you.
And he may not know how to bid properly.
Right. We were talking about customer service. That's why I kind of brought it up, because it's just, but you answered my question. I know the direction to go in.
Okay. Well, good.
You help me talk. You help me talk. Me and my wife say this all the time. This analogy we use. You can go to the local restaurant, Applebee's or Chili's or whatever, and get a burger or whatever, a meal for $20, $25, $30 for 2 people. But it's a difference when you go from the local restaurant to downtown and spending $100, $125. The truth is you're going for more than just the burger. You're spending $100 downtown for the entire experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Antonio. And I call that the Capital Grille experience.
Yeah.
I can get a steak at a local restaurant here.
Yep.
But I want to go to the place where they're going to give me their business card, and I thought they were the server, but they're giving me their business card, and they know everything about me in 5 minutes because they've studied my body language, they've asked me questions, and they know exactly what to recommend me on the menu.
And from there, they personalize it for you, which makes you feel even more special. So that's the
Right.
last tip I have for customer service too. So
Oh,
it tied
wow.
right
Aha.
in.
Aha.
But it is, anything we can do for our customers to make them feel special, because they are, they're our
Mm-hmm.
business. If we didn't have, like you said, the number one, if you don't have sales, if you don't have those customers, you don't have a business. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
keep those customers with good customer service, you probably don't have a business as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow, Kim, you've said some key things, and and that's very, very true. I always go back to relationships.
Mhm.
A business is a person.
Mhm.
And when you're dealing with another business, which is a person or another person, you have to treat them a certain kind of way. Now, I know I grew up under the old saying, the customer is always right. We've heard
I
that
do
like
too.
5 million times.
Mhm.
I yes and no. I agree that the customer is always right unless they're wrong. But there's a way. There's a way to handle it even when they're wrong.
Right.
Because I don't get to say, well, you're wrong. I'm not doing that. I still have a responsibility as the person in the community that owns the business
Right.
to be able to try to paint a picture
Mhm.
where the customer can see clearer or more clearly what we are doing and what the end goal is and why we can or cannot. I will try to meet them halfway and give some kind of accommodation, but they are always right unless they're wrong. But there's a way.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, wow, Kim, thank you so much for talking to us today about service, the thing that really is, I think, the bread and butter to being able to be successful in any business, because you can get customers all day long, but if you don't retain that customer, you have shot yourself in the foot.
Mhm.
And you got to go out here and work twice as hard just to get back where you were. So thank you for giving us your wisdom, your insight. And Antonio, thank you for that. That was a really, really good conversation piece, that question you had, because
Thank you.
that happens a lot, that especially in that industry, in contracting. And
Mhm.
what I heard you say, it is important how quickly you respond. And Kim kind of brought that up earlier, how you
Okay.
have to respond to things immediately.
Mhm.
And if it's a bad complaint, you got to respond to it faster than immediately, So you talked about that. And you also talked about when you're not competitive, how should you be handling that situation?
Mhm.
If you're, how are you going to hold on to that customer or get the customer and then hold on to them when someone else is coming in cheaper? That goes back to last week's call about sales. You need to be able to sell value, because as you stated earlier, Antonio, people ask you, what's the difference? Well, the difference is you. And that is true. The difference is you. And I have branded everyone that works here to be like this. It's still me through this person. So that's so critically important, that business still has to go on whether you're there or not. And you have to, as Kim said, you have to train. You have to train your frontline people. You have to train your background people. You have to train the janitor. You have to train everyone to be in a certain vein. Doesn't mean they have to act like you, but they have to start off with your vision and your goal, and they have to be working toward that with their own personality. So I think that this was a good conversation. I appreciate you saying all the things you said, Kim, and thank you so much for joining us. And now next week, I believe we're going to be, Kim, you've been great. Next week, what Kim is talking about is going to pivot to next week. We're going to be talking about human resources. How do you find these people?
Mm-hmm.
How do you go out here and what do you do when you find these people who you think have caught your vision and will work toward your goal and represent you well, because that is a huge pain point. Finding the right people to fit, or as I call it, how do you find the right babysitters for your baby? Because your business is your baby. So we're going to be talking about that. And Kim, I will tell you that I've tried carefully to kind of set these talks up in order based upon things that will come up. And the intent of this was, of course, to give people the information that they needed so that when they go to complete their business plan, we've given them the right information so that they can complete it, and they should be bank ready by the time we're done with this, because we only have a couple more sessions. But I appreciate you talking about service. You are service. It's funny because even when you are on camera, you look so sweet. You look like, oh, I want to help. You know, and I just love that because I know you. That's who you are. And when you talked about how you greet customers, when you see them, you really get engaged and you want them to feel like you wanted to see them. I remember when I met you at McAllister's, you were exactly that way. So I know that you are practicing what you're preaching. This is not just some fluff you're selling. This is who you are, and thank you for being who you are and being such a great example of service. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
It's
a heart matter. So, and you've got that heart too for people, and that's why you're doing what you're doing.
I'm working toward getting better every day. Yes. Thank you for that. With that said, I appreciate both of you guys joining us. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can always reach out to me. I can connect people together so that those concerns can be addressed. I appreciate you guys. Go and be great this evening, whatever you're doing. And thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you.